Okay, we're back live streaming. I hope everyone had a good lunch. On our agenda, we're at confirmation of the minutes. The first set of minutes we have is the council and committee meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2021. And I guess I'll ask Sue to read the recommendations.
Thank you, through the chair, that the council and committee meeting minutes for March 2nd, 2021 be approved as presented with the following recommendations. Under operations, roads and waste management, that direction is given to staff to initiate 2 household hazardous waste events in 2021 with dates to be determined on the availability of the service provider, and that $33,000 be added to the 2021 waste disposal budget 151217704009 HHWD. Second, that a working group be established to discuss curbside pickup service delivery, reviewing rates and existing services and agreements for commercial businesses, and that members of that group include the operations manager, the operations supervisor, CEO, clerk, treasurer, deputy treasurer, councilor Bromwich, and councilor Wilmer starting in June, and that recommendations be brought forward for council consideration and updates. Operations, water, wastewater, and facilities. That the Barry's Bay Drinking Water System 2020 Annual Water Report is accepted as presented. Second, that the Barry's Bay Drinking Water System and Wastewater Treatment Fourth Quarter 2020 Performance Report is accepted as presented. Under Fire and Protection Emergency Management, number 1, that council approve that the proceeds from the sale of surplus equipment 1996 rescue truck be placed in the sale of land equipment line item 014000661028, and that council direct staff to proceed with discussions with Battle Shield and proceed with disposal only if the price is comparable to the cost of scrap metal and the offer is based on fair market value. Second one, that a delegation be requested to speak to the ministry at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario on behalf of Madawaska Valley Township. Third, that council approves the request received from representatives of the local planning leads for the COVID vaccination group and confirm the availability of the Paul J. Yakabuski Community Center for use as a COVID vaccination center as requested. And that council further confirms the availability of the Paul J. Yakabuski Community Center for the 2022 Winter Games. Under Recreation and Community Development, 1, that council approve adding $250 to the 2021 recreation budget in support of the Renfrew County 55+ Seniors Games, conditional to more details regarding participation and the organizers confirming they have received approval from the Renfrew County District Health Unit as it pertains to COVID guidelines. 2, that the recreation update report is accepted as information and that staff is directed to apply for the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative for Playground Structures Barry's Bay and Commermere, and that staff is directed to cancel the 2021 Artisan Festival. Under Planning Matters, 1, that council approves 5% cash in lieu of parkland from the Commermere Lodge Limited CLL, and that the funds be deposited in a designated reserve for parks and playground as per policy. 2, that council supports Bell's application for Universal Broadband Fund UBF to provide broadband internet services in eligible underserviced areas across Canada, and that a letter of support demonstrates the need for access to high-speed internet is a stated priority for Madawaska Valley. You are muted, Mayor Love.
You're muted.
Sorry, everybody's got to do it at least once. Are you sure your mic is working? Because we could hear you when you leaned towards your screen and we were losing you a bit as you leaned back.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I will.
It was in and out, so just please just double check it's going through your mic. Okay, Councillor, you've heard the recommendations. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Paplinsky, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Okay, so under Operations, Roads and Waste Management, I'm going to ask Chair Bromwich if he would like to speak to the recommendations.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. I believe that it's a fairly straightforward recommendation about the household hazardous waste events. We haven't set a date yet because of the COVID situation, but we're going to probably end up using the same dates we did last year. It'll be divided amongst, I think BLR is involved with us on that. We share one date down the South Hall for that. So that's a good thing. We have that working group that we're going to form for discussing curbside pickup, service delivery, reviewing rates, bring any recommendations towards council. And I think that's basically all there is to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. On operations, water, wastewater, and facilities, I'll ask Chair Schulist if there was any of the recommendations he wanted to speak to.
To you, Madam Mayor. No, I think everything is good. We received some reports from staff, Scott and Ashley and so on, and it was a good report. I have nothing to add to it unless somebody on council would like to speak on it, but I'm fine with my my committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Under fire and protection and emergency management, I'll ask Chair Paplinsky if there's anything he'd like to speak to on the recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor Love. There's nothing specific that I've got in mind. However, there were some issues that I think we were expecting some information to come back to us. And I don't know whether the fire chief is with us today. And if I don't see any submissions on his behalf. So I would assume that he's still waiting for the follow-up regarding the closing of the fire college and what that's going to represent. I know we'll be dealing with, I think later in the agenda, grant that's accessible for the fire department with respect to perhaps some training and equipment and so on, but we'll deal with it when it comes up. But I don't have anything else specific unless somebody's got a question or comment.
Okay, thank you. I will take those questions when we've gone through all the chairs and given each of you an opportunity to just speak to your recommendations. Okay, so we will get there. Under Recreation and Community Development Committee, Chair Wilmer, was there anything that you wanted to speak to in the recommendations?
No, I think it's very straightforward, and all discussion that's needed has been done. So no, I have nothing further to say.
Okay, thank you. And under planning matters, I also concur. The recommendations under planning matters, I think, speak for themselves. So council, are there any of these recommendations that council wishes to discuss?
No.
Anything
No.
out of any of the committees? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Were there any errors or omissions in the minutes of the meeting?
So,
Okay. Then with that, I think we've gone through all the business. I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, I'm trying this a subtly different way today, but I think this is a little smoother if we just get Sue to read all the recommendations and then each of you gets an opportunity to speak if you have recommendations. All right, so that gets those minutes done. We'll move to the council and committee meeting minutes for the budget of March 8th, 2021. And Sue, could you read the recommendations, please?
Sorry about that. I was just going through my other set of minutes. Through the chair, that the council and committee meeting minutes for March 8, 2021 be approved as presented with the following recommendations. That council approves staff recommendation to deem unit number 41, the 2010 Toyota Corolla, as surplus. Second, that $130,761.58 of gas tax funds be applied to the 2021 Wolowski Drive construction project. 3, that $177,671 of OSIF funding be applied to the Chepeski Mill Road construction project. 4, that council approve the 2021 draft curbside pickup area rate budget with a rate increase of 2.12%. 5, that council approve the 2021 draft transfer station area rate budget with a rate increase of 2%. 6, that council approve the transition of the part-time payroll clerk to a full-time payroll office clerk beginning in September of 2021, and that the job description be presented to committee once completed for final approval. 7, that council approve the 2021 draft municipal budget as amended with a tax levy increase of 2.1%. 8, that council approve the deputy clerk recommendation to bring the interim tax bylaw back to the March 16, 2021 regular council meeting to modify the due dates to the end of April and the end of May.
Okay, thank you. Are there any of these recommendations that council wishes to discuss? Okay, I guess I should get a mover. Could I get a mover, please? Sorry, moved by councillor Wilmer, seconded by councillor Bromwich. Again, I'll just ask one more time if there's anything anyone wishes to discuss. Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, business arising from the minutes. Sue, I think you have something?
I do, from the March 2nd minutes, I wanted to update council that as directed, the treasurer has submitted the expression of interest for funding under phase 2 of the municipal modernization funding stream for an organizational service delivery review. And I ask council support this resolution in support of that application. So I would need a mover and a seconder that council approve the application for funding under the municipal modernization program intake 2 for the purpose of undertaking a third-party organizational service delivery review to address service integration and digital modernization as well.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover for that resolution? Councillor Paplinsky, moved by councillor Paplinsky, seconded by councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, I just had a couple of notes from staff, so I don't, oh yes, Hillary is, no, Hillary isn't here. Mike is here. Sue, it was in relation to the Barclays landfill issue. Are you going to speak to that? I guess I don't have Hillary, or could Mike?
Mike may be able to speak to it. Just wanted to, again, it was a direction of council just to investigate a compactor at the Barclays landfill site to see if it required any work. So I'm not sure, Mike, maybe if you can speak to that. Okay, maybe Mike's not there either. I just wanted to clarify that, yes, at the staff meeting, it was, I was updated that there was a review and there was a site visit to ensure that mechanically the compactor was okay.
Okay, fantastic. Good news. Now, is there any other business arising out of the minutes? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up, so we'll move on to municipal reports. And I'm wondering, do we have the fire chief handy? Or is he away on business, out on business? Gwen, I may have to ask you if you can let me know.
To my knowledge, I don't think that he was going to be sitting in on this session.
Okay. All right, so I guess then, so the first item we have under municipal reports is the fire department funding. Sue, then could you speak to that?
Yes, immediately after our last meeting, actually, I think there was only a couple of days. This was a funding opportunity that was received. Every municipality will get a minimum of $4,500. We could apply for up to $5,600 with an expression of interest if we could identify what it would be used for as it pertains to assisting for COVID and for training, as well as accessibility to technology. So I submitted a copy of what we sent for council review. And basically we just wanted council to be aware what we had applied for. And I was hoping I could get a resolution that once, if we're approved for the expression of interest, we can include that council has already been briefed and they concur that this is a need for both stations. So if I may, I would read the resolution I'm seeking a motion on support for is whereas Madawaska Valley Township is eligible to receive up to $5,600 as part of a fire safety grant program announced by the Government of Ontario. And whereas this funding will enhance the provision of online and regional training, as well as upgrades to technology for both fire stations. Therefore, the Council of the Township of Madawaska Valley approved the submission of expression of interest as presented to seek funding to be applied against technology and the purchase of equipment and or required upgrades, as well as associated costs with training for the 1072 awareness course.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Paplinsky, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Chair Paplinsky, I'm wondering if you wanted to speak to this information.
I would actually, I welcome this, this opportunity to have this grant. However, I still have some unanswered questions, and I'm sure others do as well, with respect to the overall implications and cost with this whole change with the fire college changing. We're still being held, expecting information to come back, and hopefully that'll be coming soon, but there's going to be an additional cost, but I'm sure it's going to be certainly much greater than $4,500 or $5,600. So, and I'm just somewhat concerned that if we accept this, just sort of carte blanche and without mentioning the concerns that we've got, I don't want to find out later that, well, you accepted the money, so therefore you're totally on your own, because this is something that has much major financial implications. So we do need to get some clarification, but in the meantime, I do support the resolution and to have that money in hand, so we can at least do something to be prepared. So I think we are prepared to do a lot of in-house training, but there's a lot of other side issues along with that as well. So, and it's something that is going to cost a considerable amount of money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Did anyone else want to speak to the resolution? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone else, so I guess I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, certainly we will be looking to get as much information as we can back on this subject, especially the changes that the province has in mind, because what we don't have at this point is a very clear understanding of what the final requirements will be. We are seeing changes occur in the process of training and how training is done, but we're not actually being told yet what the final desired outcome is by the province and the fire marshal's office. So I know I have seen from other municipalities as well a similar concern. So we will certainly keep council up to speed on this particular issue as it goes forward. Okay, if there's nothing further on that, we'll move into bylaws. Bylaw 2021-19 regarding the amendment to the water and wastewater leak adjustment policy, SOP number WW-01, formerly bylaw number 2016-02. Before I read the recommendation, Council, I'd just like to draw your attention to page 916 of your package. I know it's almost inconceivable to say 916, but in terms of the discussion we had last time, I just want to identify, if you look at 2.0 definitions part B, it still has in it, due to such matters as vacation or prolonged illness. And I think the discussion the last time was that we would remove that because there may be other reasons why someone would be away from their home for a short period of time besides these two. And I'm going to suggest, before I read the recommendation, an amendment where we literally take those words out, and 2.0B would read unoccupied. An unoccupied dwelling and or building is a dwelling and or building in which occupants are absent from the property for a time period of 72 hours or more, but where the occupants have not moved out. So they can be absent, and we're not going to, niggle about the reason. And I think that's the key thing. We don't want somebody to say, well, I was away on business for a short period of time or whatever reason. And I think when in the discussion we had last time, that was something that I was looking to have removed and to make it more generic so that staff could address unoccupied with a clear definition that didn't bind them into some key categories. Sue, I saw your hand up.
Yes, I was going to suggest that we approve with amendment.
Yes.
However, Silas did point out to me that we only need the third reading for this one. The first and second reading were approved at the last meeting.
Yes, so it is third reading for this one. I just wanted to make sure that if council concurred with that change and that amendment could be made, and I'll do third reading as amended. Okay, and perhaps before I do that, I'll just ask of council, was there anything else that you saw in the revised policy? Did anyone have any other concerns with it? Let's get it done and make sure everybody's happy with it. Any final concerns? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So when I say as amended, it would be to remove the words due to such matters as vacation or prolonged illness. With that, the recommendation is that bylaw 2020-19 be given third and final reading the 16th day of March 2021 as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we have bylaw 2021-22 regarding the interim tax levy 2021. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-22, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy and to provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalty and interest on 1 1.25% of 1 1/4%, sorry, be given first and second reading the 16th day of March 2021. Now, just to identify for council before I get a mover on this one, I believe this is just to change the due dates because of delays that staff are having in the transition to the new software. They want to make certain that when they print the tax bills, that everything has been double checked and everything is good. And it's just going to cause a slight enough delay that they wish that council would consider extending the due dates for the first and second payment each by a month. So that's why this is back on the table. It's just to do that. And with that, I'll ask, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-22 be given third and final reading the 16th day of March 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Paplinsky, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next is bylaw 2021-23 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment being part of Lot 18, Concession 13, and part of the shoreline road allowance along Wadsworth Lake, designated as Part 1 on Reference Plan 49R-5530 and Part 1 on Reference Plan 49R-19557, Geographic Township of Radcliffe, from Residential 1 R1 to Residential 1 Exception 70 R1-E70. Thomas Biletsky and Barbara Anya Biletsky, BIE 2020-07. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-23, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading this 16th day of March 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Paplinsky. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-23 be given third and final reading the 16th day of March 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next is bylaw 2021-24 regarding authorizing the entering into and the execution of an agreement with Dominic Anthony Babinski and Rita Margaret Cebulski with respect to the use of part of the road allowance between concession 6 and 7 between lots 20 and 21 adjacent to lot 22 concession 7, Geographic Township of Jones. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-24 being a bylaw to authorize the entering into and execution of an agreement between the Township of Madawaska Valley and Dominic Anthony Babinski and Rita Margaret Cebulski be given first and second reading the 16th day of March 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Is there any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-24 be given third and final reading the 16th day of March 2021. Could I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Paplinsky, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next section is public meeting and planning matters, and I know Councillor Wilmer has declared a conflict, so he will not be participating in this particular section of the meeting. We have severance application B67-20, owner applicant Carrie Nelson Bame, part of Lot 2, Concession 6 in the geographic township of Radcliffe, now in the township of Madawaska Valley in the county of Renfrew, 55 meters by 30 meters, 3.3 hectares, which is 9.15 acres. The location, Combermere Road, County Road number 62, Combermere, Ontario. The recommendation is that severance application B67-20 be approved as applied for. Sue, does Mr. Lerbetsky want to speak to this, or should I just get the recommendation moved by council? Oh, sorry, you're muted. Your turn.
I don't believe that Silas is in the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. All right, could I get a mover for this, please? Moved by Councillor Paplinsky, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion or questions on this severance application? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Councillor Wilmer, if you could please return to the meeting. Great, thank you. Our next item is County of Renfrew final plan approval for registration of plan of condominium file 47-CD-18002 regarding Combermere Lodge Limited. And we also have directly after that, County of Renfrew file plan approval for registration of the plan of subdivision file 47-T-18001 regarding Combermere Lodge Limited as well. So council has had an opportunity to look at the final conditions. These conditions will then form part of the subdivision agreement and the plan of condominium agreement, the condominium agreement, and we'll come back to council for final approval by bylaw. However, does anyone have any questions or concerns with the final conditions? Okay, we just wanted to make certain everyone was good with that. I believe, Sue, you have a recommendation.
Just let me find it here. That council approve the County of Renfrew final plan approval for registration of plan condominium file 47-CD-18002 and subdivision file 47-T-18001 for Combermere Lodge Limited as presented.
Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Paplinsky. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, that completes that work. We're into correspondence information. We have a letter from St. Francis Valley Healthcare Foundation dated March 9th, 2021 regarding Catch the Ace lottery license. We have this as information. Did council wish to discuss it? Okay, I'm not seeing any desire to do so. We will just accept it as information. Correspondence action items. Letter from North Algona Wilberforce Township dated March 3rd, 2021 regarding Ontario Northland Transportation Services. Does council wish to discuss this letter or support the resolution? Councillor Paplinsky.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I certainly would support it because I think it's a service that's vital to so many people that have not transportation of their own, a lot of elderly people and others. And, you know, I know it's outside of our area. However, it does affect our area as well because the loss of service is something that we've all experienced. And so any improvement in that area would be something I'd want to support. So I'm prepared to support it.
Okay, so Councillor Paplinsky, would you move that we support the resolution of North Algona Wilberforce?
I would indeed, yes. Thank you.
Okay, moved by Councillor Paplinsky, and do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Our next letter is from the Corporation of the Township of Bonnechere Valley, dated March 2nd, 2021, regarding all-terrain vehicles. Does council have a desire to discuss this or provide support? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Oh, wait, Councillor Paplinsky.
Yes, Mayor Love, it's an area that, you know, when they introduced the new legislation 6 months ago or wherever, I anticipated there would be a little more discussion about it because, however, I know that many of the issues that are going to arise from this happening will probably come out in drips and drabs and then reaction to whatever the problem is at the time. And that happens with many things. I remember back in the days when back in the 60s, when all of the motorcycles came over from Japan and filled the streets in Toronto, and there was very little legislation. And of course, it took many incidents, unfortunately, traffic deaths and so injuries before certain laws were implemented to control the operation. So I sort of suspect that it's going to take something catastrophic, hopefully not, but you know, if we can, you know, react quick enough to prevent injuries, it would be something that I would be in favor of doing. But I understand, you know, what this is all about, and I think that they are concerned, and we need to be as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are you suggesting you would like to support the resolution?
I would support the resolution.
Okay, so then I'll ask if you would then move it for me.
I'll so do.
Okay, moved by Councillor Paplinsky. Is there a seconder to support the resolution? Seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any discussion on the resolution? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we will do that as well. Under new business, we have the letter from Eastern Ontario Regional Network dated March 1st, 2021, regarding the Eastern Ontario Regional Network submits proposal for ultra-fast gig internet project. Council, I did provide you with a resolution of support that I received literally last night from the County of Renfrew, and I did amend the agenda to add that resolution of support. I hope you do all have it. And I would hope that you would support it. The gig project is a project that EORN is hoping to find funding for that would provide us with internet services that would fulfill the needs of Eastern Ontario well into the future. Their goal in putting forward such an aggressively progressive project is to ensure that we're not filling the gap only to find that we've been left behind. And so if as a project they were only going after what is it? I'm trying to remember if it's 50 down and 10 up, something like that. Anyways, the amount that would barely meet the standard today, by the time that standard was built, it would be obsolete. As we all know, the needs for bandwidth are increasing exponentially daily. So this is certainly a very forward-thinking project that I'm hoping Council is willing to support by resolution as we continue to lobby the government to make sure that rural Eastern Ontario has excellent broadband service that is going to help us with economic development, with better lifestyles, and our ability to do online schooling if need be, healthcare issues that can be addressed online, the many, many things in the modern world that we now find ourselves doing online and that are very challenging for rural communities. So I would ask, is there someone who would move that we support the resolution? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion on the resolution? Okay, I don't see any. I have provided you with some information on this proposal in the past, and you know our fingers are crossed. Sue.
As it wasn't included in the original package, did you want me to read the resolution, Mayor Love?
Sure, that would be great.
Whereas residents and businesses across our municipality need access to modern and adequate access to high-speed broadband services. And whereas the demand for high-speed broadband services will continue to grow year after year. And whereas our residents and businesses should not continue to be disadvantaged by the lack of access to high-speed services. Excuse me. And whereas the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, EORN, has submitted a comprehensive regional project to deliver a gig up to 1,000 Mbps of speed that will serve our residents and businesses long into the future. And whereas EORN's approach has proven itself very successful and represents an efficient and effective way to solve our broadband needs. Now, therefore, the Council of the Township of Madawaska Valley requests both the federal and provincial governments to immediately fund the EORN GIG project. And finally, that a letter of support with a copy of this resolution be sent to Minister Monsef and Minister Scott with copies to our Member of Parliament and our Member of Provincial Parliament.
Okay, thank you, Sue. I know Council did have the resolution. Any final discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, where are we at for time? Oh, we're going to get a second break. We are going to go in camera at this point, I guess. And at which point we will, once we are in camera, we will break until 2 p.m. when the in-camera session will start, because that's a timed item for today. So to go in camera, the recommendation is that the meeting enter in camera session to discuss matters pertaining to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. A trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organizations. Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, Section 239, 2B and F and I. Number 1 is the council and committee meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2021. Number 2 is Wishart Law Firm update re court file number CV-21-0000002-0000, scheduled for 2 p.m. And number 3 is Kingdom Holding verbal update. And Sue, are we able to do Kingdom Holding prior to the 2 p.m. timed item? I just want to verify that.
I would have to check with Hillary's availability. It's his report.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure, Council, whether we'll be taking a break when we go in camera or whether we'll be able to achieve that, but staff will get back to us on that. All right, so you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Paplinsky, seconded by Councilor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay.